So today let's talk about how much I made in dividend income in my portfolio. Now we're sitting well over $100,000. You can see we're at $125,000 as of this recording. And so let's go ahead and break this down a little bit and see how much we actually earned from this. Now, before I actually show you the earnings for this month, I'm also going to compare to last quarter as well as overall where we're at for the year. So even though my name is Dividend Dennis on here, I am, just as a full disclosure, not mainly focusing on dividends today, but I will be long term, so just something to keep in mind. So you can see right over here, the last day was kind of up a little bit. For the week, we're actually up a little bit as well too. For the month, we're actually up about $2,000. If we go to the quarter, we're up about almost $15,000. We've definitely been dollar cost averaging over the last year and some change, quite a bit. You can see here in the last quarter, we actually earned over $324. But I'm going to show you which companies we got paid out just in this last month, by the way. If we go to year to date, we're up about $15,200. In the year, obviously with 2020 in mind, we are down about $4,400. You can see here we've actually earned over $1,000 in a year. That's a new goal that we were trying to achieve for a long time, so it's really great to see that. Now, obviously, that wasn't paid out all exactly in 2022. We hit just a little under for 2022. And then you can see here in our all-time, we're actually up about almost $4,800 and about $2,000 earned in dividends. So before we check out which companies paid out the dividends this month, one thing I just want to quickly mention is seekingalpha.com. This is going to be today's sponsor. If you are somebody who wants to get a bunch of information on all their stocks that they own, put up their portfolio together so it curates all of the transcripts, any articles, any news that's coming out for these companies, that's going to really help you out. You can see the dividends just from the stocks that you own. You can see the ex-dividend dates, the payout dates, and everything else in between. So check out the link in the show notes down below. Help support out the channel so we can keep making content just like this. All right, so let's go back here and we're going to go to our activities tab. And we're going to go ahead to our activities and just file in for just dividends. And so far, we only have 3 dividends paid out currently, but we actually have 2 more coming in. But because the ex-dividend date passed, we obviously still know what we're going to be getting paid out. And I'll show those as well too. So you can see here, first one was from Discover on May 9th for $29.35. It's really nice seeing pretty much every single company in the double digits now when it comes to dividends, because you could see obviously all these companies as well too. You can see also on March 9th, we got paid out from Microsoft for $35.04 or $35.40. Microsoft's kind of a special place in my heart for dividends because they were the first company in this portfolio, but also one of the first companies I've ever invested in. And then you can see here for March 23rd, we have Home Depot at $71.32. So those are the ones that currently paid out, but let's go ahead and check out which other 2. So if we switch it back to the month, we're going to go to our retail section here. We're going to go to Ross, and Ross paid us $26.83. Now, the payout date is not yet here, so again, it's not in the portfolio yet, but it is accounted for. And then we can go to our industries, and we get paid out from Lockheed Martin. This one is going to be for $18.11. It has gone down over time only because I have been selling out of the stock. So if I go to my income tracker right over here, you can see here we've actually made $181.01. I have a little chart here so you can see our growth is actually about 10% from the December income, and that's obviously to compare December of 2022 to March of 2023, because those are going to be the typical months that those companies are paying out. So that's going to be just a good factor for us to see how that grows, because obviously month over month is not always going to be the same, because some companies do not pay out in those months because they pay out every 3 months. So you can see right over here, like I said, it's about a 10% growth. So some of that has actually been dividend increases that has happened over the last couple of months at the beginning of 2023. So that has been really nice to see, even though we haven't been investing as much into those dividend stocks. I've been doing a little bit more into companies like Amazon and Google that I have in my portfolio. Now you can see here for our Q1 of 2023, we hit a total of $324.95. Last year, we were at $206.34. So we are really nicely ahead of where we were in 2022, which is always the goal, right? We want to be increasing not only how much we're putting in our portfolio overall, but obviously those dividend increases are helping tremendously as well. And then if you compare that to even 2021, which was $122.01. So if you could see this negative right over here, this percentage, this is just year over year total. And the reason it's negative is obviously because it's comparing to where we were in 2020, which ended up at 944. Like I mentioned, we were just shy of hitting $1,000 for the year. Obviously, to get to one of the goals, which is $100 a month averaging, we got to hit $1,200. I believe that will be the case this year, if not maybe even a little bit more than that, especially with this nice start off to the first quarter, hitting up that $324. So again, we're down 65% so far, but as we keep adding every single month, that number is going to go down and down to the point where it's at zero, and then we're going to be in the positive. Ideally, this goal would probably be for us to be 30+% would be what I would like to see, because you can see the first year we obviously hit over 2,000%, but that's because we went from $8 to $184. And then the second year we did about 180%, and then last year we did about an 83% increase. So my goal is at minimum at least 30%, and then eventually, the growth is going to slow down, but it's still going to be really meaningful because those are going to be larger and larger numbers. Obviously, if you're following along, you're going to see those things, so make sure you hit subscribe if you're not already, because then that way you can see the growth happening over time, because we're going to keep sharing here on this channel, because I just want to kind of show people growth portfolio as well as investing with dividends and how that's going to impact us, because we started this portfolio in January of 2019, and again, we're at obviously March of 2023. So a couple of years in, we're seeing some really nice improvements. The portfolio is doing well, even with the down market that we had. Like I showed you here, if we go to our all-time, we're still in the positive right now, which is really nice. We're investing every single week, and yes, some of these companies are not going to be paying out dividends or pay out very small dividends, but over time either we'll sell those companies and invest in companies that are paying 3 to 4%, or hopefully by that point some of these companies will have nice dividend increases that will have a huge impact overall on the portfolio. Now, I mentioned earlier too that some of the companies had increased their dividends this year, and Ross was one of those companies. They actually increased about 8% this time. So they went from 0.310 cents per share to 0.335 cents per share. So that was a nice increase in the overall income that we're making for doing absolutely nothing different. And then Home Depot came in right over here. You can see they actually did a 10% increase, so a double-digit increase. Now, especially with inflation having gone up, 10% is still really nice to see, especially with a company that's been increasing their dividends for so long. So we went from $1.90 a share to $2.09 a share. So just to kind of show you the impact that this kind of has on us here, let's go to our retail section here. Go to Home Depot. So we actually own 34.122 shares. Now, I don't know if this was exactly what I had when the dividends went through, but I'm just going to show an example here. So 3.122276. And in case you're not familiar, if you actually own partial shares of stocks like this one, you actually do get paid out those fractional dividends as well. So let me go ahead and do this here. I just want to show, if we go back to Home Depot so I can see those prices. Let's bring these back up. So right over here, we're going to do the original amount. So we were getting $1.90. So right there, that's $64.83. And then if we go with the new amount, that's $71.31. So you can see from right over here. Actually, let's bring up another calculator. This is what I like to do for fun sometimes, is just kind of play with these numbers here. So just to show you the exact difference, it's going to be $6.48 per quarter that we're going to be making extra now because of that dividend increase, for having done nothing different in our overall investing. Like if I didn't change anything, don't invest anymore, right there we've made almost an extra $26 in the next year just for having ownership of the company and holding on to our shares. Now obviously we're most likely going to be buying more into the company, so that's going to be helping us by getting that $2.09 per share. But again, if I had done nothing more, I got it pretty much an extra $26 for the overall year, or $6.48, because of that dividend increase. And that's what I mean by, if these companies that maybe don't pay close to 4% over time will increase their dividends to get to that point for my yield on cost, then I will be making a good amount for the amount of money that I invested in so far. So for me, I'm really excited about that. Obviously, this money is going right back into the portfolio, investing more into the stocks. Some of the companies obviously are not the dividend paying companies, so they'll be getting some of that money, but not having increased the amount that we're making every single quarter or every single year in dividends. But overall, it's still going to help us in the long run because that can bring us gains, so that way we can again sell them if needed to, or possibly one of these days the companies announce a dividend for their shareholders. So as an example, if we go to Google here, if you actually go onto Seeking Alpha and go to their dividend section, it tells you that they don't pay a dividend, but you can see their earnings per share. You can see how much of a ratio they pay out, because 60% is kind of, the threshold for most companies when it comes to paying out a dividend. And then you can see how much that would actually come out to and what that yield would be right there. So if, for example, Google paid out from their $5.12, you could see that 60% ratio, and then the annual dividend would be $3.07, which would be 2.89%. So based off of how many shares I have of Google, just have some fun here. So if every year they paid out, let's see how many shares I have of Google. And that's just as of right now. So hopefully over time, I keep on buying up more shares. So $3.07 times 131 of 44,559. I think I missed a 5 there. I don't want to miss out even on my fractional dividends. So in the year, I'd get paid out $403. Obviously, if they paid out quarterly, which would be most likely, that's $100 a quarter that I'm going to be getting paid out from Google if they eventually start paying out a dividend. Now, that's not, of course, always the case, but that can happen. And even companies like Apple at one point didn't pay out a dividend, but if you were buying then, not only did you get the really amazing growth, but then now you are getting paid a dividend, and your yield on cost is probably much better than people buying in today. So just kind of things to consider when it comes to getting into companies that maybe aren't paying a dividend, possibly will or maybe won't. But again, at the end of the day, I can sell all my shares, hopefully for a nice gain, and put it into companies that are paying a dividend if at that point I want that income coming in. So don't forget to check out seekingalpha.com so you can get a whole bunch of great information and support out the channel at the same time. So I'll link them up in the show notes down below for you. And then until my next video comes out, I'll actually put up a video right over here for you so you can keep on learning and growing with your investing portfolio.